Good morning, everybody. I hope you are having a fantastic day today. What I want to discuss with you all is cold calling versus cold emailing. A lot of people online, especially on like the LinkedIn sales world, are claiming cold emails dead, cold calling's dead. I don't think either are dead. They both have their place, and that's what I'm going to discuss with you guys today: the pros, the cons, and how to do them effectively for maximum results. So, the real benefit of cold calling is you get that instant feedback. Somebody's going to answer the phone, and you know right away, interested, not interested, when to follow up. Uh, you have them on the phone. It's not easy for them to really ignore you at that point. Them picking up the phone is a whole other battle. However, it's very easy to ignore an email, or they may never even see the email. They may have a firewall or an anti spam system on their email, so it never gets in front of them, especially if you're targeting directors or executives at larger companies. I've seen people on LinkedIn post that they have 80,000 emails in their spam from salespeople trying to pitch them. So it's a little hard to stand out there, but the phone can get their attention. If they answer the phone, you have their attention right away. They don't have to filter through 80,000 emails to find you. The next, it's really easy to build rapport, tone, humor, personality. Get them to maybe say stuff that they wouldn't say over email, because people can sometimes be very direct and short over email, and that phone can open up a conversation and take you further. Higher response rate. I'm reading off of ChatGPT and going through the points here for you guys. Higher response rate is true in a sense. More people will answer the phone than answer emails. However, you can send out a lot more emails than you can do phone calls. It's not hard to get 30 subdomains with 3 emails each, 90 inboxes, and send out 2,700 cold emails per day. You're not going to do 2,700 cold calls per day. And the cost is also going to be a lot cheaper for the cold email. Once again, crowded inboxes is a big problem with larger organizations. Also, for high ticket, there is some trust built in you picking up the phone and calling a person when it comes to larger sales or dealing with larger enterprises. If you're selling a very low cost solution to the small business or the solopreneur, like your insurance agent, your real estate agent, cold email can work good. They don't get a ton, and it may not even be worth calling them, paying somebody a local domestic salary to cold call them, because your price point is so low. However, if you have a very high price point, you're selling into mid-size or enterprise, where you can have multiple 5 or 6, maybe even 7-figure deals. You can afford that cost of having someone cold call, or justify your time in cold calling. Cold calling does take some more time, without a doubt. Like I said, it's very easy to send out a few thousand cold emails per day and very inexpensive. However, results are going to be a little bit better with cold calling. You'll reach people who you may not reach via email. ChatGPT says it's emotionally draining. For me, the hardest part was never rejection. When you're doing B2B, people aren't going to reject you harshly, like selling pest control door to door. I used to door knock for a real estate agent in the area, and I had the door slammed on me so many times. I got chased off the porch. It is it is what it is. And B2B, you're not going to deal with that. Most calls are recorded. People know that. They don't want to get blasted on LinkedIn for saying something crazy and go viral and lose their job, which I've seen happen so many times. Or they respond heinously to an email telling you to, kill yourself, or, step in front of a bus. People have screenshotted that, posted it on LinkedIn, and those people end up losing their jobs, and they've learned their lesson. There's no reason to talk to a salesperson that way. So the hardest part for me, sorry, going back to my original topic, was those days where I dial 100 numbers and not talk to anybody. Kind of feel like I'm spinning my wheels. The rejection was never really hard. I would at least try and get somewhere in the conversation and thank them for their time, move on. Gatekeepers, if you are dealing with mid-size or even enterprise businesses, I would recommend getting a data subscription to Lucia, Apollo. Don't go to ZoomInfo, they're overpriced and they have bad data, in my opinion. I'll do another video on that. You have to be calling cell phones. It's going to be so hard to go through the phone tree and get to these decision makers, and the odds of finding them at their desk without another receptionist to go through is slim to none. Uh, Now, in terms of the kind of pros of cold email, I find cold email can work really, really, really well in the small business sector where they don't have tens of thousands of cold emails coming in and a lot of anti spam or firewalls in place. It's very easy to reach small business owners, both over email and over cold calling. Oftentimes, for a small business, the owner will be the one answering the phone, which is perfect. Um, Another benefit of cold email is this 24/7. I've had people respond to me at 3 o'clock in the morning, respond on Sunday. I do not cold call people on Saturday, Sunday in B2B. If you're in B2C, I've actually had a lot of success calling people on the weekends because they're generally not going to be at work and appreciate you calling them on the weekend instead of interrupting their work day. So don't do B2B on the weekends, but you can do B2C, and people can reply when convenient. I oftentimes check my email at 4 o'clock in the morning when I wake up or on Saturday or Sunday and will respond to people, but don't call somebody at 4 o'clock in the morning because it's not going to end well. I've made the mistake and I got blasted by the guy. I That's on me. I woke him up. Uh, Lower cost per touch. It's true. If you have an onshore rep, let's say you're paying them a $60,000 salary, which is $30 per hour, they're going to be doing 10 dials an hour, 80 dials in a day, which is what I did as an SDR. Then you're looking at $3 per touch point, $3 per call is basically what the math breaks down to. With email, we can get that to a fraction of a cent, maybe a few cents per touch. Also, it's hard to find people who are going to pick up the phone and dial all day. Whereas with cold email, if you're a very introverted personality and are uncomfortable with cold calling, it's easy to set everything up. Go through some of my previous videos where I get the data from Instantly, go through email list validation, get the premium inboxes set up, and start sending out the cold emails. Now, with cold email, you do have to know what you're doing. There isn't a lot of room for error. If you don't have your emails warmed up, if you're sending them with HTML instead of TXT, where you're automatically going to get sent to spam. If you have spam keywords or bad data, you're going to burn your inboxes and have to start all over. So if you're not a highly technical person or don't know a lot about cold emailing, you can watch my videos or stick to cold calling. I know a lot of people who are in their 60s, 70s still who pick up the phone and cold call, but if I tried to explain, warm up to them through emails or subdomains or HTML versus TXT, be over their head. So depending on your technical ability, you can decide which one to do there. So in summary, cold call, connect rate may be a little bit higher, especially on the small business side. Conversation to meeting ratio is going to be a lot higher than cold email, or touch point to meeting ratio, I find. When I was cold calling larger enterprises, I would usually book a meeting in every 50 to 100 calls. Doing an email sequence to the same audience, it was more like 1 in 1,500. So if you have a smaller total addressable market, your TAM is smaller, you have to work the phone. If you have a very big TAM, big total addressable market, real estate agents, insurance agents, tech, SaaS, manufacturing, you can afford to put 20, 30,000 people in a sequence over time. Whereas if maybe you're on a niche market, like I used to sell into the cannabis industry in Canada, I used to sell them insurance. I couldn't afford to put all like 200-300 contacts in a sequence and get no responses. I had to call them all because I needed that higher conversion ratio, and I couldn't really run a big sequence with a few hundred contacts. It's just not worth it. Now, doing both, this is what I think the best option is. If you have a big total addressable market, put them in an email sequence and call them all anyways. If you have a very, very, very large addressable market, go big on cold email and then focus more so on the warm leads, people who've shown some intent, and call them. Maybe they don't book the meeting with you through email, but they say, send me more information. I'm interested. Give me some pricing. How does this work? Those are great leads. You can connect instantly or your sequencing system to your CRM. I like HubSpot personally. It'll auto create a deal or a task for you to follow up with, and you can do that. Now, if you're dealing in a smaller total addressable market and you're cold calling them, I absolutely recommend, if they don't answer the phone, send them over an email through your CRM or through your inbox. Hey, sorry I missed you. Here's why I called. When's a good time to connect? And sort of do a more manual sequence that way. Don't do a big sequence to your CRM, because usually that's going to have your primary domain connected. And I find a lot of CRMs, especially HubSpot, have the default HTML setting for email open tracking and can absolutely destroy your domain. So be a bit more conservative on that, maybe 10, 15 cold emails or introduction emails through your primary domain after you cold call them. Do a few follow-ups when you retouch the contacts. I would cold call somebody up to 7 times a day, or sorry, not a day, up to 7 times over the life cycle of the contact. I don't double dial or triple dial, which some people do. I personally hate it, and when I get double or triple dialed, when I answer the phone, I'm usually not very receptive and asked to not be called again. That's just me personally. So call them, send them over an email. Week later, call them again, maybe another email, call, email, and try and reach the person. After 7 times of them not answering the phone, the odds of them answering the 8th, 9th, 10th time goes down dramatically. So I hope this video helped. If you guys have any questions on cold emailing, cold calling, sales, lead generation, leave it in the comments and I will make a video addressing your questions. Thank you guys, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.